It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. Ha! Feedback Friday. Oh, it didn't click. Okay, it didn't work. False start. That's all right. Hey guys, you want to see a bit of a living with a chest issue? My microphone angle, my headset wire tends to sit like here, but in this dress, like it just goes right down the cleavage. Like this is my life, okay? I'm going to have to do a radio show after I record this. I'm going to have to put something on here. That'll happen too. All right, good beta testing. Let's moving on. All right. This was an informative week. Difficult in some ways, but informative. I'll start with the Tifa. Oh no, I want to do one more thing on Boss Fight. I am going to send out another message to the people who backed the Kickstarter because stuff's getting missed. Right at the very beginning, there's an introductory blurb that says where to send your pet photos for that. Some people saw it. Apparently, a lot of people didn't. And some people insist that once you click through the link to the survey, you can no longer access that introductory blurb in an email. So that's weird. So I'm going to send out another blast about what to do about pet photos, and because people are just missing it. And apparently it's a one shot. That's kind of ridiculous on Kickstarter's behalf, because if there's instructions to people, so that is coming for people that missed it. I'll send it out either if it hasn't already gone out by the time this goes live, it will be going out today. So don't worry about that. So let's moving on. It's weird times, eh? Weird times. Twitch on Thursday was just a soothing balm because we just goofed around in this game that's in development called Godhood. It's sort of in GOG's version of early access, and we had Beelzebub create a religion, and it ended up being very funny. Banana relics and tentacle statues ensued. I'm not kidding. These things are in the game. There's a lot of furry content in the game. Oh yeah, the Beelzebub's followers were called furries as well. It's a very cute game. It's got some bugs to sort out. It's got some like polishing to do, but the fundamentals are solid. It's like a combination like one of those kind of Facebook city builder things. So you have this very small kind of, you add like modules to your little encampment. But also there's like this collectible card game element where there's like combat based on stats and various characters you can recruit. It's interesting. I haven't played anything ever quite like it, and there's enough character customization that we managed to make one character look like Princess Sparkle Muffin. So I'm going to continue that on Tuesday on Twitch, Tuesday night, if you want to check it out. It was fun, and it was nice because this has been a lot this week. Summer tends to be crazy. The hot weather brings out the aggression in people, but this was a lot even by those standards. And I've been dealing with a lot of mental health stigma this week, which it's important work, but it's tough to keep emotions out of it. I will remind people that I did set a rule just last week that excusing violence or claiming violence is ever justified is a violation of the comment rules on this channel. And a lot of people, I am not sure if I'd say they completely broke it, but in the Bianca Devin stuff, people sure got close to claiming she somehow brought it on herself or had it coming because of a mental illness. People claim both the victim and the alleged perpetrator in that murder had histrionic personality disorder, and this is somehow relevant, and this is why her Instagram presence is relevant, and this is why the things she did are relevant. I got a bunch of screen caps about naughty photos she allegedly was selling people. And my thought is, if people are buying lewds from a 17-year-old or younger, you're claiming the 17-year-old is the one with the problem? I'm sorry, that's exploitation. Everybody knew how old she was. But I checked with an expert on this one because I don't like talking out of school, and I knew nothing about histrionic personality disorder. I do not even like the name, but because it's basically like over-the-top attention-seeking behavior that has a negative impact on relationships. It's a personality disorder that I knew nothing about. So I checked with an expert. I checked with someone I have access to who is licensed and very high up and very reliable and not prone to, ironically, histrionics. But this person said that histrionic personality disorder is not tied to violence. I actually learned something in this that I thought therapists were very hesitant to diagnose teenagers with personality disorders, but this professional, who is very well connected, like I said, said that no, it does happen specifically with borderline personality disorder because that one has been linked to violence. So you want to get people as much help as possible. But they were adamant histrionic personality disorder is not linked to violence. There's something else going on there. And, you know, this just goes into the fact that mental health stigma is real, that people who are mentally ill are more likely to be the victims of violence as opposed to the perpetrators of violence. That is a stat that has been confirmed. Look it up. And part of the problem that is that mentally ill people are marginalized. People don't have sufficient empathy for people with mental illness. And you know, it's stigmatized by the media. And people have these messed up attitudes about it. And it's just all so sad. But yeah, you're not going to get very far with me trying to justify this or trying to justify that any form of sex work, any form of online behavior is somehow grounds for violence. That just stops right there. Like, it stops. It's not relevant. It's not relevant. It's not relevant. It's not relevant. Period. It's not relevant. Women don't have it coming because they're on the internet. Men don't have it coming because they're on the internet. Now that segs into the other very interesting thing. And this is why I'm very glad you guys volunteer so much information, why these dialogues are extremely important. There were quite a few commenters that said that men are scared or intimidated going down dark alleys and things like that. But there's this social expectation that they do it anyway. And that's very interesting because I never heard that. No one in my circle has had kind of the guts or, you know, the self-awareness to, yeah, I'm definitely going to have to put a shirt underneath this. My bra keeps showing. But I've never had a guy tell me that. So I appreciate you guys being honest that way. And this is one of these reasons why I start going, like, why? Like, why is the social pressure on men to be self-destructive or take unnecessary risks? I do not understand that. Like, I don't. I wish guys would start speaking up about this stuff. I can only imagine that shame is the only thing that keeps them silent. Because it's left to women to go, this is not a safe situation. And then women are just seen as weak. We need guys to start speaking up about, you know, you don't like this either. You don't like the unsafe situation either. This is one of these things where gender stereotypes cut both ways. The most obvious effect is very much real. But then there's this secondary effect that people don't talk about because everybody's too ashamed to admit that this is an issue. So thank you for that. And this is a dialogue I think that needs discussion. especially in gaming, where issues of safety in sort of public gatherings are a thing. So moving on from there into the Tifa stuff. This Tifa thing is weird, okay? It's really weird. Two weird things. The Bianca Devins video I did this week that I didn't even have her name in the title, got demonetized. And they upheld it. Manual review, nope, we're not monetizing this thing. But the Tifa video, where they've disabled the autocomplete, that didn't get demonetized at all, even though I put Tifa Lockhart in the title. So there's no issue with the subject itself. So why they've disabled it, I'm not sure. One person said it's Alphabet, the parent company for Google, disables autocomplete on porn. So I don't know if a bunch of lewd art or lewd fan art or something like that, photo manips, were popping up on YouTube in video form and they disabled it or something like that. Another theory I checked out that turned out to be false is that it had been, the autocomplete had been turned off because it's similar to Antifa. Nope. Antifa autocompletes. And the irony, it links to violent videos, which is precisely what part of the issue was in that Wall Street Journal article that made YouTube go crazy and reactive in the first place. So they're not fixing the actual problem that caused them the bad PR. They're reacting and like making things difficult for those of us that just want to talk about issues related to like important stuff that affects people's self-esteem. And, we don't do anything violent and we don't, clickbait things. So it's a mess. It's a mess. And I just wanted to give you guys that update because these things seem incredibly unimportant, but it's so strange. And it makes so little inherent sense. And there's no transparency on it. Like if YouTube had just come out and tell some gaming publication, yeah, we disabled it for this reason. All right, whatever. But it's notable. It's notable that she's the only Final Fantasy VII character this has happened to. And there really is no obvious reason for that. That it's strange. And then that Polygon article, wasn't that Polygon article odd? Like, it's just a shining example of gender double standards. The focus on reduction to body, okay, is a disputed marker of objectification. And so one could argue that focusing on Barrett's chest hair is a form of objectification. I'm not a Langdon follower. I stick to Nussbaum's original markers, but I'm just putting it out there as a form of information because I know many people who write for Polygon do add Langdon's additional markers of sexual objectification in there. But the article was strange to begin with, as a bunch of people said, like, they're comparing, high-res promo art to a game that... When did Final Fantasy VII come out? Mid-90s, I know, 97? Something like that. Like, why are they comparing this? Like, why? Like, if there's major changes between, say, Advent Children and this, fine. But the whole article itself is just bizarre. The editorial churn that goes on at these websites it is feeling more and more like a race to the bottom. There is smarter stuff they could do. There's more clever, fun stuff they could do, even done quickly. Like that sort of thing, it really doesn't serve any purpose. It adds nothing to the conversation. It's just fluff and junk. And it's just very strange. And sometimes the junk, I learned this from a talk on anime put on by the Japanese Cultural Center. Anime and otaku is fascinating. But this one professor who studies anime said that the reason they are so fascinated by anime and they don't go for more sort of the highbrow culture in Japan is you can learn a lot about a people checking out their junk culture output. And I thought that's really interesting. And it's very, very true. I think the most revealing elements of a culture are the stuff that is just put out for stupid entertainment, which is why stupid entertainment is actually very important, and not everything needs to be realistic or relevant. Fantasy is fine. Stupidity is fine. As long as it's self-aware fantasy and stupidity, no problem. That was another interesting thing that we talked about on Twitch. Sometimes I ask questions instead of talking. I ask the chat, hey chat, what about this? Sometimes it's about furry culture. Yesterday it was about dating sims. I know nothing about dating sims. I've played a few. They don't hold me. I appreciate the art. I appreciate how the narratives branch. I just need more things happening that don't involve reading or listening to a voice acting. Listening to voice acting. I just need a different type of game. Those sort of visual novel type things, they don't hold me the same way. That's not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's just saying I'm too trained to want to like push a bunch of buttons and have some sort of I don't know, explosion element. I have no idea. They just don't hold me. But I know that this is a subgenre that is popular, especially in Japan. And so I asked people about it, I asked, what's the appeal? Like, why are these things popular? Why do you like them? And it was basically the ability to form bonds with the characters and the different endings, like playing it through and seeing the different endings you get if you make different choices. And I'm like, all right, you know what? That makes absolute sense to me. Just because I prefer combat in a game, some people do play games just for the stories and they like them. And I think it's interesting that these games, because they're usually women in these games, what's that? Dream Daddy game, that's the exception. But, they're usually women in these games. And so I think it's interesting that men are doing these things that, in the West are believed that this is how you attract women into a game. Stories, narratives, and connections with the characters. It seems that men want this stuff too. Gee, isn't it amazing when you look past stereotypes and actually examine the data of what's really going on? All right, I've got myself into enough trouble here. Thanks so much for watching. I'll plug the Patreon. I'll do the show, and then I'll ask you the question. I asked on Twitch, but I want to kind of branch out. So help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. If you missed Boss Fight and you want to get involved, you get basically the $25 tier access if you become a patron soon. So if you came at the $10 and you're like, oh man, I should have gone more. You want those extra episodes, become a patron. It's a lot of fun. It's a great group and you get exclusive videos. This week's was a video going horribly wrong because Loki wanted attention now, and it was amusing at my expense. So my question is this: we've been talking on Twitch a fair bit about doing monthly specials where I play more of these. It started when I did a Leisure Suit Larry playthrough, and there's a whole subsection of adult games, and I thought it would be fun to do sort of forbidden games once a month because there aren't enough of them to do more than that. Call it Beelzebub's Game Night. And because we have a lot of discussions about sex and sexuality on Twitch. Anyway, they just kind of happen. So formalizing the whole thing, I think, might actually be a useful service as well as being fun. So, it'd be once a month. Right now I'm looking at Friday nights, even though I don't like to do that because that's Shabbos, but playing the devil on Shabbos also. But Saturday nights are no good for people, and then Sunday nights defeats the purpose because it'll be later at night. Because I don't want anybody getting mad. I know there are time zones, but in my time zone, I don't want anybody getting mad at me about my kids are watching and all that. It would be later. It would be kind of a nighttime thing, which I know, sorry, Europe, that kind of puts you at a disadvantage. That's why I tend to do my Twitch early. So, these would be exceptions. But, I mean, maybe there's a workaround I haven't thought about. I don't know. Do you think this is a good idea in the first place? This is what I want to know. I'm opening it up. People on Twitch, just so you know, like the idea. But first question, do you think it's a good idea? Would you watch that? Second of all, when, like what time of day, what day of the week? There are no perfect answers here. This would be another time of day, another day of the week periodically, because like Tuesday nights are more North Americans who tune in on Twitch. And then Thursdays, there are a lot more Europeans because of the time zone difference. So that's why I do it. So people have the ability to watch not at 2:00 in the morning. So let me know. Thank you in advance for your feedback. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.